Today you'll see what everyday life really looks like for a foreigner who has been living in Japan for 4 years already. Earthquakes, smart homes, automated parking systems, strange but genius Japanese inventions, real unpretentious fashion, technologies from the future, and aspects of Japan that still feel stuck in the past. I'll tell you why I definitely do not recommend coming to Japan for New Year if you don't want to be disappointed, and many more interesting and unexpected things. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Unfortunately, one of Japan's main problems is earthquakes. Thousands of earthquakes are recorded here every year. Yes, it sounds scary, I agree, but in reality, most of them are not even felt. Still, even such tremors can affect city life, businesses, buildings, and regular stores. You come to a supermarket and it's closed. There's a sign saying that because of an earthquake that happened on the 11th of October, something went wrong with the electricity, and unfortunately, the supermarket is closed. Very sad. But at the same time, Japan is a country that constantly thinks about how to keep living with this reality. It's because of these natural disasters that a huge number of solutions have appeared here that make life as safe and comfortable as possible. For example, construction. Houses here are not just strong, they are specially designed for earthquakes. Many buildings are constructed so they don't resist the shaking, but instead partially absorb it. For this, special structures, shock absorbers, and flexible connections between floors are used. Simply put, a building doesn't stand like a rigid box. It can move slightly and take in vibrations, so the pressure doesn't go directly to the walls and the people inside. Write in the comments whether you think you could live in a country where there is a constant threat of natural disasters. But the Japanese don't stop there. Sometimes it feels like in Japan they try to make absolutely everything shock resistant. Not only buildings, but even the most ordinary things. I wanted to show you how food delivery works in Japan. They use this kind of device. The order is placed inside, so the food doesn't shake. And this is roughly how Japan approaches everything related to the city and space. Because if there's little space, it simply needs to be used as smartly as possible. For example, car parking. In Japan, you can find these automated parking systems. With them, you don't need to think about how or where to park at all. You just drive onto a special platform, and then the system itself turns the car and stores it inside the parking structure. When you come back for your car, the parking system automatically brings it back out for you. But it doesn't end with cars, of course, because there are also a huge number of bicycles in Japan, along with special parking spaces for them. Yes, in Japan you can't just leave a bicycle anywhere you want. Very often, you can see 2-level or even 3-level bicycle parking structures. When people talk about Japanese fashion, they usually think of Tokyo, bright outfits, cosplay, and areas like Harajuku and Akihabara. By the way, I made a separate video about the craziest Japanese fashion. You can watch it on my profile. I'll leave the link in the description. But that's only a very small part of how people actually dress in Japan. In everyday life, Japanese people are very restrained. Most people don't like standing out and try to look as neutral as possible. Although, of course, sometimes you still come across very strange and unexpected outfits. Here in the shop window, you can see what people are wearing now, what's popular in Japan. I wanted to show you the bags and the overall style. Obviously, this isn't mainstream fashion, but I see things like this quite often in different shop windows. I was running errands and saw these shoes. I'll put my hand next to them for scale. How many centimeters is that? The sole is only about 14 centimeters, maybe even less. I honestly don't understand who these shoes are for. The size is like a toddler's, but it has a high heel. I'm honestly shocked, but I decided to show it to you. One of the most popular stores among Japanese people is Uniqlo. It fits perfectly into this restrained, calm style that is truly everyday fashion here. If you're in Tokyo, I really recommend visiting the Uniqlo in Ginza. It's a huge store, 12 floors, one of the biggest Uniqlo stores in the world. You can easily spend a lot of time there. There's a massive selection, basic items, collaborations, and it's just interesting to see what everyday Japanese fashion actually looks like. Japanese people really love organizing everything by color. Here, all the burgundy items are grouped together. Over there, the blue ones. Everything is clearly sorted by color. So you are not just looking for a sweater, a jacket, or a sporty top. The layout is also organized by color palette. Even the socks are almost laid out like a rainbow. A distinctive feature of Japanese fashion is layering. Look at how many items are on the mannequin. Here on the mannequin, under blazers and light jackets, they wear this kind of extra insulation. For example, office workers also wear warming vests under their suits, so they stay warm while still keeping a neat and stylish appearance. Look, and here you can make embroidery for your clothes. Over there, a girl at the counter makes custom designs. And here are some basic images you can choose from. Look, for example, if you have a sweater with small holes, you can embroider a cute little paw, like this. All the most interesting places that are really worth visiting as a tourist, I collected in my Japan guide. I put a lot of effort into making it as convenient and well thought out as possible. It includes everything you need to know before and during your trip, so you can avoid the typical difficulties tourists face in Japan. If you want to travel more calmly, without unnecessary stress, and not miss truly great places, this is exactly what you need. The link to the guide is in the description under this video and in the channel profile header. Now let's talk about this question. So, does Japan actually live in the future or not? On one hand, even ordinary everyday things sometimes look like the Japanese are really years ahead of the rest of the world. On the other hand, there are still many strange things from the past that haven't gone anywhere. For the first time, I saw this kind of spoon for people who want to feel the taste of salt without actually consuming it. I don't really understand how it works. You eat food without salt, but it feels like it has a salty taste. I don't know, it's very interesting, so I decided to show it to you. And it's not cheap at all. As it turned out, it works quite simply. There is a small electronic element inside the spoon that slightly affects the taste receptors. The brain starts to perceive the food as saltier, even if there is no salt in it. This spoon is especially useful for people who need to reduce salt intake. For example, people on a diet, elderly people, or those with health issues. Look what I found. A special foam for brushing your teeth. You squeeze the foam onto your tongue and then you brush your teeth. It says that brushing your teeth turns into a fun adventure. Another thing that surprised me recently in Japan is an elevator with video cameras. Before calling the elevator, you can see who is inside it right now. Honestly, this was the first time I saw something like this in Tokyo. It's not everywhere, but it looks very convenient. I feel like this is another point in favor of why Japan is basically a paradise for introverts. And one more thing that I always associate with the future in Japan is sunsets. They are really something special here. Not every day, of course, but when the sky starts to change colors, they can be so bright that it almost looks unreal. Japanese sunsets are so vivid because of the humid air and the way light scatters here. Sometimes you look at them and feel like you've stepped straight into an anime, because exactly these kinds of sunsets are often drawn there. So yes, in anime, this isn't a fantasy. In real life in Japan, these sunsets really do exist. But there are still things in Japan that clearly come from the past. I've already talked many times about fax machines, tons of paperwork, strict social rules, and social pressure. But there are even more unusual things. For example, the hanko seal. This is a personal stamp that in Japan can still be used instead of a signature. It's not required everywhere, but in some government offices or official situations, you can actually run into problems without a hanko. But there's also a nice side to hanko. It can be a great souvenir. I've even seen versions with foreign names like Anna, Alexander, and others. And here's one more thing that I honestly don't even know how to classify as the future or the past. I'll let you be the judge of that. Recently, we went on a trip to Mount Fuji. By the way, a video about this trip is already out on the channel. I really recommend watching it. It's a great example of how expectations about Japan can sometimes be very different from reality and what kinds of disappointments you might face if you're not prepared. I'll leave the link in the description. We stayed at a hotel in the Gotemba area. The room itself was very ordinary, nothing special. But one detail really surprised me. There was a special small window in the room for delivering food. So if you have breakfast included, they can simply leave the food in this window without entering the room. You can later place the dirty dishes there as well, and they will quietly take them away. No doorbells, no conversations, no unnecessary contact. On one hand, it looks quite old-fashioned. On the other hand, the idea of such careful respect for personal boundaries feels very modern. There is one thing that surprises me in Japan every single year. It's their attitude toward holidays. For example, Halloween. In Japan, you really feel it. Decorations, themed food, sweets, restaurants, cafes, even convenience stores all adjust to the holiday. In autumn, sweet potato dishes are especially popular. They add it literally everywhere. Desserts, cupcakes, drinks, snacks, and this whole Halloween vibe feels very strong. But the most interesting part happens right after. Literally the next day after Halloween, all the decorations magically disappear. You step outside in the morning and Halloween is gone everywhere. And in its place, Christmas and New Year decorations already appear. It looks like one holiday is replaced by another with a single click. Already in November, Japan starts preparing for Christmas. Look, it's November 5th and there's already a Christmas market everywhere. I'm shocked. Not as large scale as in December, but still very noticeable. Christmas decorations appear. Kagami mochi starts appearing on the shelves. Stores gradually change their displays. Streets start to light up. The preparation starts very early and you can always feel it. And then, already on December 26th, all Christmas decorations disappear literally overnight. Japanese people don't really celebrate New Year. It's a small, quiet family holiday with a mandatory visit to a shrine. So, if you're used to a classic New Year atmosphere with snow and a festive mood, Japan is not the best choice for a trip specifically during New Year. And what time of year would you like to visit Japan and why? Write in the comments. In Tokyo, there is a very atmospheric Bremen street. Right from the entrance, this place is easy to recognize by the arches with animals. Here you can see a donkey, a dog, a cat and a rooster. This is a reference to the original German fairy tale, the Bremen Town Musicians. In Japan, the Grimm brothers fairy tales are well known. They are part of children's literature and school reading. So this story is familiar and close here. The street itself is very cozy and lively, with many small cafes and restaurants, where you can eat tasty food for a reasonable price and just enjoy a nice walk. This is a dental clinic. On the facade, there are cute cartoon animals and happy doctors who also explain how to brush your teeth properly and what to do to keep them healthy. And the clinic itself is very small. In Japan, a lot of people ride bicycles. And look, I found this convenient small 3-wheel bike on the street. We stopped by to grab a quick bite at a place where you order through a vending machine at the entrance. You choose a dish on the screen, pay, get a ticket and give it to the staff. Everything was supposed to be simple, but not this time. Vasya chose a dish using this menu with pictures. And since we don't know all Japanese words, we were looking for the dish by price. First, you need to insert the exact amount of money into the machine and then press the button with the desired dish. But look, the machine refuses to take our money. It gives our money back. So while Vasya is trying to pay, I'll explain how we find the right dish. Vasya wants this dish for 790 yen and he is looking for the correct button by price. And I'm looking by the first kanji, which looks like a little ladder to me. We still can't order anything. Now Vasya will translate what's written here. Oh, that's what it is. It says that the machine only accepts 1000 or 2000 yen bills and we only have 10,000. We need to go somewhere to get change. So much for modern technology. Okay, attempt number 2. We got our money changed. Yay, it worked. Now choose. You're not confused? You remember which button to press? That's the kanji that looks like a ladder to me. And where is the miso soup? Are you sure? Can you translate one more time? Here the price won't help us. Oh, the machine gave change and said that you were thinking for too long. Now you need to insert the money again and only then choose the dish. Miso soup costs only 70 yen. Nice. Let me show you. As soon as we came in, they gave us this cold drink. I call it woody tasting tea. And here, by the way, look, a small place where you can put your bag. This is rice with chicken katsu. On top, a soft egg with a runny yolk, a bit of sauce, nori seaweed and shredded cabbage. Feeling simple and very Japanese. These kind of dishes are often eaten here for lunch or a quick dinner. But along with it, they also serve a small jar with fermented squid pieces. Japanese people consider it a delicacy and often eat it with rice or with sake. To be honest, no matter how hard I tried, tried. I never managed to like fermented food. I know Japanese people love it, but it's just not for me. The taste is very specific. But my husband decided to try it anyway and show you how it looks and how Japanese people eat it in everyday life. Friends, that's all for today. Big arigato to everyone who watched the video till the end. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to write your thoughts in the comments and what surprised you the most. There are many more videos ahead about my Japanese everyday life and unexpected sides of living in Japan. Bye bye!